Okay, so that was kind of going through the gyro menu and kind of showing you all of the features in it. Tying gains to your condition, actually having an extra switch to control gains, even depending on the condition you're in, single versus dual, etc. So this is my simplistic setup, and this is how I'd probably do it. The first thing is I prefer the dual mode. Why? Because I can see whether my gain's a normal versus heading hold. You look at a JR radio, it's always got to be above 50. If you don't think about that, you might screw up. This always allows me to see whether I'm in normal or tail lock or heading hold mode. All right. The second thing I would do is I would turn off combine from each of my modes. So there's normal, I would separate. Now I'm going to switch into idle 1, I'd separate that. Idle 2, I'd separate that. And then hold, I'd separate that. Again, you have to have those conditions set up in order to do that. So they've separated all. So then what I do is, I'm starting out with a new heli build. I always recommend guys kind of start out with in the 30s for gain. And I've got another video coming up that'll tell you how to get one-to-one, but hang on. So I'm going to set that to throttle lock, and I'm going to say, all right, I want about 32% gain, which on this radio is going to be about 40 by default. Again, I'm going to show you some tips on that. So there we go. My normal mode is 40% in heading hold. If I wanted that to be rate 40%, I just click this and I'd be in rate mode or normal mode, all right? All right, so now I'm going to go into idle up 1, and because I disconnected it, make sure you set up all your gains if you're going to do this, because what you don't want to do is start out flying your heli first in normal, going, hey, I've got a nice tail lock, it's feeling good, and then you switch into idle up, and because you forgot to set your gain, you separated them, you're going to have zero gain, and you're going to have a fun time with the tail, especially if you didn't set up with in rate mode. So there we go. I'm going to throttle lock, and let's say my normal mode was 40, which is about, I think, about 32. I'm going to set this one to say, I don't know, how about 38, just as an example. And then I'm going to go into idle up 2, and I don't know, I want that one to be about, whoops, that's a little thing I found on this radio. You hit plus too much and it jumps. So I'll set that one at 36. And hold, I want to be back to where I was in normal mode for autos or whatever, so I'll set that back to 40. So you might set up this way. So here we go. And you'll see the mistake I just made too. You got to be careful with this setting here in dual mode between normal and throttle lock. So I set up normal. I keep saying throttle lock, pardon me. I mean tail lock. Sorry. So tail lock, heading hold, AVCS. I got 40% gain, it's separate. Going to idle 1. There it is, idle up 1. I've got 38% in tail lock. I go into idle up 2. I want about 36, but notice I forgot to change normal to heading lock, if that's what I want. All right, and then I'm going to go into hold, and in hold I went back to my 40%, but I forgot to set that to tail lock, so there we go. So just double check all this stuff. We've separated everything. Every time I make a change, they're separate from all the conditions. So all switches forward. There we go. Normal mode, got 40%. Which is about 32. I'm in tail lock, going to idle 1. Got 38. I'm in tail lock. I'm in idle 1. Idle 2, I'm 36. Tail lock, etc., etc. And hold, I'm back to the 40 or 32% in tail lock. Anyway, I hope that's making sense. So, from a simplistic setup, if you like flying Futaba, switch to dual. You're going to be very close to the percent that is 1-to-1, very close, and you can get different different gains in different conditions. If in fact you prefer JR style, let me reset all this. All right, pardon me. If you like JR style, again, if you want different gyro gains in different conditions, separate them. So 50 is zero gain in JR mode or single mode. So let's say I go to, I don't know, 72. All right. Again, I've showed this already. And then in idle 1, I want, say, 70 because I've got a little higher head speed. All right. And then idle 2, I want, say, 68. All right, I'm dropping the gain each time my head speed goes up. Whoops, I hit reset, sorry. That's 68. All right, and then in hold, make sure you set your hold as well. Let's say I want to go back to 72. It's just example of numbers here. These numbers don't mean anything for right now. So simplistically, if I like working with JR, there's my gain. I'm in normal. There's a little bit less gain and idle up, a little bit less gain and idle up 2, and hold. I'm back to my normal, or the same number I would have in normal mode. All right, so that's a simplistic setup. You don't really need to set this other switch. Choose which mode you like. I showed you the difference between dual and single, so pick that. And again, I apologize for saying all the time throttle lock. It's something stuck in my brain. I mean tail lock, all right? AVCS or heading hold mode. All right, so hope that made sense. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start talking about making some tweaks to the radio. And when I say tweaks, it's going to be tweaks to endpoints to get the gyro gain to be 1-to-1 in dual mode. All right, so I'll be right back with that. Okay, so here we go. In this little video, you don't have to do this if you don't want, but I'm going to show you a tip to get your gain value in dual mode to be 1-to-1 gyro gain. Futaba works that way. This radio's a little bit off on that. Futaba radio, whatever's in your gyro gain in GY mode or dual mode in this radio is usually 1-to-1.